I'm engaged. How do I get married? I'm your host, Kevin Dennis. In addition to leading the charge at Wedding IQ, I also run Fantasy Sound Event Services, a lighting and entertainment company based in Livermore, California, that I founded over 35 years ago. Each week on this podcast, we'll explore a new corner of the wedding planning so you can prepare for your I-dos without the stress. From budgeting to booking vendors to day of drama, let's talk smart wedding planning. All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married? The Kevin and August Answers Your Questions edition. This is our first episode answering our audience's questions. How do you feel about that, August?
I feel good. I feel like it's kind of like a direct way to help our listeners. Like, yes, they're here to listen to whatever advice we have to give, but that's normally up to us. Now it's kind of more up to you. So after listening to this, definitely ask us more questions, and we're happy to do another episode just like this.
Yeah, don't feel it's podcast at fantasysound.com. We'll get your question in on the next episode that we do this with. So let's start it off. We're very thankful. I guess our Thanksgiving week, right? We're very thankful.
Thankful for our listeners, thankful for your questions, and thankful that we keep getting to do this.
That's right. So here we go. The thankful edition as well. All right. So, all right, we're going to get going. First question, August, you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
How early is too early to start planning my wedding? Thank you, Maxine P. Maxine P. for sending in that question. So how do you think? Too early to start your wedding? I have an idea, but I want to hear what you have to say.
I mean, as you know, if you've been listening, I am not a married person, so I have not been through the wedding process, but I used to be a planner. And to me, honestly, I don't feel like it's ever really too early when it comes to some things. Other things, yes. But I mean, really, when you start planning, it's all about kind of nailing down a venue first, nailing down that date. And then what I always told couples is everything kind of falls into place after that. But I mean, if you have an idea of like what you want your place cards to look like or your table settings or that kind of thing, I feel like the design aspect of it all and the vision of your day, that can be started really much whenever. I mean, we've all been planning our wedding since we were kids, right? So that feels a little bit different. But as far as, handling vendors and handling a date, that comes maybe like a year or two out.
Now, is too early to start planning your wedding before you even get engaged?
I don't think so, because again, when I was a planner, we had some couples come in and do tours before they were engaged. And I think it's all about securing the right date, right? If you're someone that puts a lot of sentimental value into a certain date, or there's auspicious reasons for a date when you get married, sometimes you don't want to risk anything and you want to get that date down. And maybe you've had those conversations with your partner already. Like, we know this is the next step that we're taking. Let's just get ahead of the game before, some other couples get in here. I think that's fine. And honestly, I saw it a lot. So.
Okay.
What about you?
I don't think you're ever too early. And I think it goes a couple different ways. I think about the weddings that we have planned that have been very 8 weeks out, and that it's just, you're just making decisions and you don't have time for decision fatigue, which I think some couples go into, where they go back and forth at looking different things. And there's so many different options. They want them all, so I think, you can go either way with that, and I think everybody is going to be different based on their personality. If you like to have everything very well thought out and you're type A and you want everything perfect, maybe having the more the merrier, to get things done. So.
No, that's so true. And honestly, we've been seeing a lot lately, those short-term bookings. So, I mean, you can plan a wedding in 8 weeks. It's totally doable, or if you want to
we've done it this year.
Yeah.
Last
year it was huge.
Yeah, it's been a thing. And I feel like even in 2024, it's been more of a thing than ever, and it was really strange. Like our 2024 couples took a little bit longer to make, to plan things, and everything was a little bit more last minute. And I feel like our 2025 couples are already out there, and we've already even heard from some 2026 couples. So, some of
Yeah.
them are really out there going. So I think this answer will
I
be
think
different
that's a
for
good answer though. Like just depends on the person, depends on their level of, involvement and then what their vision is. I think those are all factors when answering that question.
All right. So, Maxine, I hope we answered your question. Hope we helped you out. All right. You ready for the next one?
Let's do it.
All right. My fiance and I want to keep things simple and skip the big bridal party, but I still love the idea of having a maid of honor. Would it be weird to only have one person in my bridal party and no others? That's from Karina W. What do
Okay,
you
so
think?
Karina, I think, and I'm sure you agree with this too, Kevin, weddings are not one size fits all. They're not all cookie
Mm-mm.
cutter. And I think more so in the past few years, we've been seeing, more unique takes on weddings. And honestly, the rule is there's no rules. You can really do whatever you want. And if you just want to have one person in your wedding party, that's totally fine. And I know I've brought up Miss Kelsey before. Shout out to Kelsey. She kind of did this for her wedding. She still had the fun, bachelorette party and wedding shower and all of that, where she invited all of her girlfriends. But for the day of, she did not have any bridesmaids. She just had her sister standing up there with her. It's even got to the point too where sometimes couples don't even want their wedding party standing up with them at the
Mm-hmm.
altar either. It can be a more private moment, just you and your partner. You don't have to worry about them all standing up there next to you for 30 minutes.
Yeah. I with that said, I've seen them all walk in. They all stand up there. The photographer gets a photo of all them up there, and then they all go sit in the first row seats,
Yeah,
with the
yeah, just
parents
reserve
or
it
the
for
second.
them.
Yeah. 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 So,
Yeah, I mean, I just think honestly, with anything planning your wedding, like, of course, everyone will have their opinions, but it's really up to you and your partner. Whatever you decide to do, that's what's right.
yeah. And I'm a big believer too right now is that, you can have females on the male side, males on or,
Hmm.
vice versa. Like, I just met with my couple that I'm doing their wedding here in a couple weekends, and the groom is having his sister be his man of honor, or I'm
Yeah,
sorry, woman of honor.
the wedding,
Yeah.
wedding last
So,
week, I saw that they said she was called the best person, not the best
yeah.
man, and I thought that was
Well,
so cool.
and I love because there's not like a standard name for any of these people, and everyone's making up their own names for them. So that's part of it too. But with that said, there's also, you're seeing odd numbers. Like
Yeah,
I may only have 3 friends, but August, you have more friends than I do, and you have 6 friends. And so instead of us trying to even it out, it's just I take my 3 buddies and you take your 6 girlfriends, and here we go.
yeah, and
Like,
that's okay.
and I think that's fine as well. Like, so I'm seeing more of, women standing up for men, men
Hmm.
standing up for women. You're seeing odd numbers. I think it's fun. Like,
I think
because
it's
it's
cool
about,
to embrace like something different. Like we can get away from all the old traditional stuff unless that's what you're into. Like just truly make it your own, personalize it, make it feel like it's your day. And if that's just having one maid of honor up there with you and your partner, then that's what it can be.
yeah. So, all right, Karina, I hope we were able to help you out. So, ready for the next one?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the final weeks leading up to my wedding. What little
Mm.
things am I missing? Am I forgetting anything? From Paul H.
All right, why don't you start this one?
All right.
I'm
Well,
curious to see what you have to say because we have
no,
different like brains.
I know. Yours is better than mine, but that's a whole different
No.
story. Um, but I think part of it is you need to relax and schedule like a couple dates leading up to the wedding to remember why you're going through all this stress.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I feel like everyone comes at you and everything is, you're in decision fatigue, you're stressed out, you're probably dealing with some kind of family issue, all that stuff all creeps its ugly rear little head right at the end, and it's, the wedding's happening on the day that it's happening and you can't push it back. So, with that said, you got to get everything done in time. So I think one of it is, don't forget to, schedule a time to go to the movies, go out to the bar and have a drink. You could still talk about the wedding. Maybe that's a good thing. It's like, go get drinks and, try to finish, coming up with the shot list for the photographer, like making sure you do all that stuff, but trying to make sure that you guys remember why the two of you still love each other and why you're still there. But also, with that said, it's just making sure you have everything organized. Remember the wedding that we just planned? So how organized
they were the best.
Well, and how that wedding was just so organized, and so therefore every little, so the sooner you can check things off that list, the better, so if you're ready to go and, you have everything planned out, meet with your DJ earlier, if you're prepared, and go from there, so I think the sooner you do that, the more you keep yourself organized. And I think another good tip too is making sure you schedule time, because we all to work on the wedding, hey, Thursday night's going to be a wedding night. We got to get some wedding stuff done. And you go into it with the headspace that you both are ready to get in there and get attacking the wedding stuff. So those are my thoughts. August, what do you think?
I mean, I agree. Yes. And I think like getting into it, I'm thinking about like what type of person Paul is, right? Like, is he type A? Is he type B? And I think that kind of dictates what the answer to the question is too, because him asking that already makes me feel like, okay, Paul, I feel like you got this handled. You're just kind of getting in your head a little bit, right?
I think so too.
And I think that's why, you offered the advice of like, just take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. And I know we talked with Adam on our last episode, and I think it's all about, trusting the people, trusting the professionals that you have there the day of your event, and they're going to take care of everything, and you just need to relax. But I was going to have a similar answer that you did, Kevin, which is, meet with your vendors, right? Like, they're the experts, they're the professionals, they're going to be able to answer those questions. So it's like you said, if you're prepared, meet with your DJ early, meet with your planner again, go through that checklist together, so you don't feel like you're taking it all on by yourself, because you're not. The day of, you're going to have a huge team helping you. They're all working towards one common goal. And if they can help you check off that list a little bit, then have them do that. And don't, take that burden on all by yourself and take a break.
Well, and something I just thought of is that don't take on any new projects, So you saw something cute on Instagram that, nope. Now is not a good time to take on a new project or decide to add something else to the wedding. I always tell my couples at one point, you got to put on blinders and we're moving forward. You got to stop looking at everything else that's out there, because we've made decisions, we're dialed in, and things are ready to go. Let's move. So,
and I think like you said too, I mean, organization is a huge part of it. And I know it might be too late for Paul because he's, just a few weeks away. But like, if you're able to start that from the beginning, like nail down what the goals are, create a checklist, because I'm sure it's just so satisfying getting those all checked off leading up to the big day.
Well, that, and we just thought of a new, we can figure out what type of personality Paul is. That'll be another podcast episode. What kind of personality? Analyzing that. All right. You ready for the next one?
Yes.
This is going to be a tough one, I think. So Bridget is asking us, Bridget S., my partner and I are thinking about asking our families to help out financially with the wedding. Any advice how to approach that conversation without it feeling awkward? I think this answer is going to be different for everyone, because what kind of relationship do you have with these people? Like, if you are reaching out to an aunt that you haven't talked to in years, it's going to be awkward. But if you're reaching out to, an aunt of yours that you talk to regularly, you're like, hey, we've wanted to do X, Y, and Z, but we can't afford it. And maybe even ask like, hey, what were you thinking? Were you thinking about getting me anything for the wedding? Maybe you can consider giving us some money to go towards this, and that'll be our wedding gift. That's another way of looking at it as well.
Such a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And like, yes, it may be awkward, but and sorry, you can go ahead and finish, but I think
No, go
my
ahead.
biggest like takeaway is like these people want to help you, right? They want to
Mm-hmm.
do this. And like that just happened with the girlfriend I had who just got married is her and her fiance, they actually had people who told them, "Hey, we want to help out. Hey, we want to give you money for this. Hey, what can we do to help?" But they just felt so awkward saying yes, but they wanted to say yes that they did it. And I was like, "Guys, like they literally offered. They really want to help you. Like they're wanting to do this for you. Like just let them, because I think people want to be a part of the big day. They want to contribute. So just allow them to do that.
Yeah. And I think you're going to know your relationship. So if you go into it and you're not, like I said, you don't have that comfortable relationship with this person and you don't talk to this person regularly, then it's going to be awkward and you're going to have a hard time. But if you have a relationship with a family member, a friend, whoever it may be, I think that's a good way of doing it. Also, my wife and I were a guest at a wedding where the couple, in lieu of gifts, asked for money towards their honeymoon. And
Yeah, I've
because they
seen
were,
that. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's a good way. That's another, so in lieu of gifts, give us money for a bigger cake. So,
Well, and I think too, like, in the more modern age, a lot of times, like, couples may live together already. Like, they don't necessarily need, like, a mixer or, like, a toaster. Like, they
hey,
don't need those kinds of things,
now,
Well, and I'm just
everyone,
speculating,
we all
obviously.
need KitchenAids. Everyone needs a KitchenAid.
But, like, I think, for most couples, it's like, a honeymoon would be the best gift for them. So I do see that a lot, like, honeymoon funds put out at the welcome table, or as the registry even. And sometimes like that's the only item I see on a wedding website too.
I'm going through that right now with my family where it's more about, instead of material things, it's like, let's go see things and do, it's more about experiences. So Bridget, I hope we helped you out there. All right, ready? Carly M is asking, I just got engaged. Well, congratulations there, Miss Carly M. When should I start hiring my wedding vendors? And I think you should, as soon as you say I do, the first phone call should be to Fantasy Sound and just
absolutely
to give money and say, I need Fantasy Sound for all the things, but I'm joking there. So with that said, when should we be starting? Oh, you're not? Okay.
Well, I think Kevin, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I think for me, it's like getting the venue first, right? You have to nail down the date. It's kind of hard to book vendors without them knowing your date because they can't give you their availability. So and honestly, it just depends. Like, I mean, I've had some couples that were like, the first vendor I booked was my DJ because I needed him and he was going to let me pick any date. Right. So I think it just depends, but I think it's, nailing down.
Which is impossible unless that DJ is holding every date.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just, if you don't have a date, you can't do anything. So it's date and venue. And usually it's venue then date because you got to see what's available at that venue.
Totally.
And then the other thing too is think about it is you could be at a golf course, right? Or you could be at a winery facility. You could be indoor a ballroom of a hotel. Those are three totally different rooms, and three totally different needs of vendors and what you're getting rental wise.
Right.
And, it just, all that stuff is going to change, and let's think about this time of year, is it a little colder? You might need some heaters from the rental company, or is it, really hot? You need to put up some shades and have some more umbrellas, which are going to be in trend for 2025, by the way. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so a lot of that really comes down to venue date, so I think once you have the venue, once you have the date, it's game on. But I also think there's a little bit of an order to this as well. So you got to think of the photographer, I'm going to say pick a photographer first, is like, think of the businesses that are not, the people are more artists. Like, so your DJ, there's only one of that DJ, so once you find that one person, you can only, like I can only do one wedding on at a time, right? So once I'm gone, I'm not available for anybody else. So the DJ, maybe the band, maybe the photographer, videographer, those type of people that are the ones that are going to be there on the day of, the planner, those are the people that you need to get nailed down, because there's not many of those. But like when it comes to, rentals and, favors and dresses and, all that kind of stuff, there's so many to choose from. So start with the ones, you go to. And I'm a big believer, because I had a bride that this happened to a couple of years ago, is that, she kept trying to hire a photographer, but she was taking too long and they would get booked. So the first one she tried to hire got booked because she took too long to hire. Then she kept, started the search all over again, and then nailed it down to the second photographer and got booked. So I also think if you get that tingly feeling about a vendor, you need to hire them immediately. Like maybe look at one, maybe two other, but because these are the people that are going to be there and representing you on the day of. So just, take that's what I think. What do you think?
No, I think I agree with everything. And I think too, it is of course venue first too, because I mean, not a lot of couples might know this, but sometimes venues might have restrictions on certain vendors being on site and or recommendations for you. Like they could have a preferred list and you could knock that all out and not have to worry about, researching or looking around. And a lot of times, those vendors on preferred lists are, of course, trusted professionals in the industry. They know the properties well, they know management well, and it can just make your experience all the more smoother too. So I think taking a look at your contract with your venue will also play a factor in when hiring the rest of your vendors.
And it's funny you say that. I love working a new facility that I haven't worked at in a while, or like one that I've never been to, because for me, I get that new and it's fun, but there's also like a comfort level of me going to a venue that I work at all the time, where I know where all the plugs are. I know how to load in. I know, all the, I know all the ins and outs. And so there's a little bit of both. So yeah, I agree. Work off that preferred list as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Carly, I hope we answered your question. We're moving on.
Yep.
This is going to be a tough one. I think. I don't know. Maybe not. All right. So Leah D, we're trying to reduce our guest list a little bit. Should I invite +1 or kids? So if you're asking Ryan, who was on our episode, my daughter, she would tell you yes to all the kids.
Yes.
But so Leah, I think if you're running out of room, then you invite who you can invite and who you can fit. That's the summit. It's like some people are going to have a wedding that the capacity of the room for the reception may only be 120 people. So if you're hitting that number, you're coming up on that number, then maybe you don't allow +1s, and you just apologize. You have to, there's a line in the sand somewhere. You have to draw that line. And I think you stick to your guns, and if you cross that line for one person, you have to cross it for all.
Yeah.
So,
and I think, I don't want to assume, but I feel like the question is coming from a place of feeling some sort of expectation, from your guests for those people. And, like if you don't have the space, you don't have the space. Like you need to just go with the A-list and the people that you really need there with you.
Well, that, and if someone's going to get their feelings hurt and get upset and not come to your wedding, then they're not a true friend.
They're not the right person to be there.
Yeah, and they're not your real person to be there with you. So
yeah, that's a tough one.
It is a tough one. But if you ask Ryan Dennis, she'll tell you yes.
Yes, all the way.
Good. And make sure you have mac and cheese and what was it? Chicken fingers?
Donut flambe, pizza, hot chocolates.
Yep.
All the above.
All the above. All right. Skylar G. Thank you, Skylar, for submitting the question. It says, I'm a little unsure about the timeline for sending out the save the dates and invitations. When should I plan to send each one out?
Mm-hmm. When I was planning, it was always, and you might have a different answer, but it was always 6 and 6. So 6 months for the invitations, 6 weeks 6 months save the date, 6 weeks invitations. So kind of easy numbers to remember, unless you
To
had a
have them
different
back
answer.
by?
No, to send out.
Ooh, 6 weeks I think is too close. Or too close to the wedding.
Okay. Or I'm
But
thinking
that's just me.
RSVPs. Sorry, I'm thinking RSVPs.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
wait, I was thinking, you need your RSVPs by
Save
then.
the date,
6 months.
invitation, 6 months, 6 weeks RSVP.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you save the dates as soon as you pick a venue and pick a date. I think those go out that before you start. We were talking about hiring your vendors. I think before you hire your vendors, you start sending that out, because if you have family coming from, I don't know, out of state, out of country, you need people to start planning that you want them to be there at your wedding. But I like the 6 months before. Yeah, I think 6 months before the wedding is a good time to send the invitation, as well as you want everything back and done 6 weeks. Because what's going to happen? This is the worst part of the wedding planning process is the damn Yes. And I mean, Jessica and I have been married. It's either 17 or 18 years. I said this earlier. I can't remember. I'll have to do the math. But anyway, it'll be coming up here on New Year's Eve. But it was the worst part of the freaking wedding planning process is getting those. It's like, are you coming to my wedding or not? Just tell me, and
like, you have to have your schedule planned out at this point. Like, what are you doing?
Well, yeah. And do you want beef or chicken? Like, let me know, like, let's tell me, and so it's funny because ever since we got married, anytime we get a wedding invitation, I immediately turn it around and we send it back in as fast as we can, because I just remember I don't want to be that person that you're having to hunt me down, whether I'm coming to your wedding or not.
And honestly, it just seems to be how it is. Like, any friend I've had recently who's gotten married, it's like, okay, we're waiting on 30 people and the wedding's in like 2 weeks. It's like, sorry, at that point, you just aren't coming. Like, you need to respond. Like, it's rude.
Yeah, I agree. It's rude. So my advice, I don't know if this is August's advice, but my advice is immediately send out, save the dates. Once you get the date, I think they need to go out within the first couple weeks. And then I like the 6 and 6. That's what I've always said, 6 months.
If you listen to our last episode, make sure you book an engagement shoot with your photographer first.
Oh, that's true.
Get those photos, then send out. If you want it on there,
If you want it on there.
Yeah, because my sister's getting married in a couple months, and her invitation, it didn't have a photo on it. It's still really pretty. So I guess it's just really up to you and your partner.
Well, and I think, too, you can use your photos on your wedding website. So many couples nowadays have a wedding website. They're really easy to get. I I got married 17, 18 years ago. I got to figure that out. But we had a wedding website back in the day. They're not as fancy as they are now, but I think with that, you can be loading all your information in. I just came across one of my couples sent me a link to their wedding website, and it had like things to do the day before, things to do the day of the wedding,
itineraries,
restaurant recommendations, and all kinds of other fun stuff, so people can actually make a little overnighter or a weekend or whatever out of their wedding, and your guests can enjoy it as well and enjoy the area. So
yeah, super helpful.
I think so too. All right. So hopefully we answered your question there, Skylar. All right. You ready? I think we should make this our last question.
We have time for one more. Yeah.
One more. All right. You ready? Angelina S is asking us, these are tough questions, everyone. Thank you. So, all right. I got invited to a friend's wedding recently. Does that mean I have to invite them to my wedding too? August?
You know what? I think no. I don't think you have to. It all depends on, like, each couple's situation is different, right? Like, your friend might have had a huge wedding, like 300-400 people, and they just invited anyone they knew because they wanted some big blowout. But maybe your wedding is a bit more intimate, maybe under 100 people, like, you really just want the people there that you talk to on the regular that are really important to you, and maybe this friend doesn't fit in that bill, I think it's okay to not invite them, and maybe it is sending out a sweet message to them like, hey, like our venue only allows this, or like you're very special to us, but it's just going to be very close family present on the day of. You can celebrate with them another way, another time, if it really is bothering you that much. But I think, where we always land at the end of the day is it's your day. You do what's going to make you happy, and you can't worry about other people's opinions.
Yeah, because I think when you start worrying about other people's opinions is when you get stressed out and you get it becomes
you
a
make
mess.
It harder for yourself.
Yeah, you really do. And also, like you said, it's the circumstances, and, if this person is really, really close to you, they're going to be there at your wedding. But obviously this person must not be very, very close to Angelina, so like if you don't see this person that often or whatever, like you said, maybe 300 at their wedding, you only have 100. Well, you can't make exceptions. So.
And I know a lot of people, I've seen this online a lot where some couples, kind of have the rule of like, if I haven't talked to you in the last year, like, do you have any business being at my wedding? And I know that's different for some people,
Family.
But yeah, some family, sure. But like some friends, it's like, yeah, we haven't like really sat down and had coffee or chatted in over a year. Like, it doesn't really make sense for you to be at my wedding because you're not like invested in my life on the daily,
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, but circumstances is really the reasoning, I think.
All right. Well, Angelina, thank you. And thank everyone for submitting questions. So don't forget, if you have a question for August and I to attack on one of our podcasts, we'll either slip it in on one of our episodes or,
compile them up, do it like this.
What we did for this one. Yeah, I love it. And it's fun to kind of come on here and figure out and give our advice. And hopefully we are giving people good advice.
Good advice?
Yeah. If you're not, it's my fault. If you get bad advice, it's my fault. If you get good advice, it's August's fault. So there you go.
Great. I love that. I love that arrangement.
I'll be the bad guy. So, all right. Well, August, I think this is our Thanksgiving week episode. So
yeah.
Thank you for listening. We appreciate all of you. Enjoy your turkey. I will be laying my big booty on a
beach
island,
somewhere.
the island of Maui. That's our tradition in the Dennis household for Thanksgiving. We go to Maui. So, and I will be enjoying
I will be
Hawaii.
Staying in the Bay, but still eating some turkey. So
it's funny. I'm not going to be eating turkey this year. So,
where are you guys?
So all the restaurants got like crazily expensive, and my family does not like turkey. So, and I'm the only one.
You guys are
weirdos. No. They're weird. I love turkey. I love Thanksgiving is probably one of my favorite holidays. But we're going to do some kind of like barbecue something at the resort because it was like, why pay $120 for the kids to go eat something that they don't like? So
yeah. There you go. Being, untraditional. Do Thanksgiving your way.
That's right.
Just
do
like
your wedding.
Yeah,
that's right. So, all right, folks. So don't forget, if you have a question, send it on over to podcast@fantasysound.com, and August and I will tackle your questions. And then we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. And now that I'm engaged, how do I get married? Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married podcast, brought to you by Fantasy Sound Event Services. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode. Please get in touch with me if you have a topic you would like us to cover, or if you are struggling with your wedding planning. Please be sure to submit a question at podcast@fantasysound.com. I encourage you to check out our other episodes on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're a fan, we'd love if you would subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. It helps others find our podcast so they can learn from our guests too. And to everyone listening, happy wedding planning.